and wood flooring. Des Kelly Interiors, where quality flooring costs less.
Becoming mainly dry in the east and brightening up in all areas this evening. Top temperatures of 18 to 23 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
All right, busy couple of hours coming up. We're going to be going to Newbridge between now and 5 o'clock because Will O'Callaghan is there with us. He's going to be chatting to Johnny Doyle ahead of Kildare's qualifier against Tyrone. We'll check in Castlebar as well later this evening ahead of Mayo against Armagh in the qualifiers. We're going to be looking at Canada in Land of the Rising Scrum, our build-up for the Rugby World Cup that Neil has been putting together with great care and attention over recent weeks. Jamie Cudmore coming away that after 4 o'clock, but we're looking at football for the next little while. Shane Keegan and Paul Corry are in studio. How are you, lads?
How are you, Nathan?
We'll get to you in a moment, and Dundalk's victory over Shamrock Rovers last night. But Neil, what else is happening?
Well, we'll start again with news in the FAI because the Republic of Ireland women's team manager Colin Bell has left to become the assistant manager of Huddersfield Town. He's been in the position with Ireland since February 2017. He's been announced today as assistant manager to Jan Seward at the recently relegated club. He'll commence work with the championship side immediately. He took over in the role at the height of the players' strike just over 2 years ago, guiding them to a third place finish in their World Cup qualifying campaign behind Norway and the Netherlands. And the FAI has thanked him for his service today. He leaves just over 2 months out from the Girls in Green's Euro 2021 qualifying campaign.
Don't know if you heard any murmurings of this in Tala last night. It seems as though it's come pretty much completely out of the blue.
Yeah, he's not a guy I would have known other than what you read and what you hear people saying. He did seem to be extremely highly well regarded. If nothing else, the timing is awful, isn't it? It's like really poor to try and swing that around with
their first qualifier is 3rd of September. They're at home against Montenegro, and also terrible timing from an FAI point of view, considering there's so much else going on that actually this any other time would be a priority. Whereas you'd imagine right now there's so much going on off the pitch, you wonder who's even making this decision.
Yeah, and yet they have to make a decision very, very quickly. You'd wonder what the connection is that saw him going to Huddersfield.
No, he worked with Jan Seaworth previously.
Yeah. Where was that?
So you know the way you were in on Thursday, Shane, and Gareth Southgate was at your pro licence course, and you sat there yawning and not paying attention.
Go on.
Other people like Colin Bell are very good at making connections that may come back nicely later in their career. So while some people just might have ignored Jan Seaworth, himself and Colin Bell obviously struck up a relationship, and it's worked in his favour.
Clever fella.
What an opportunity. Seaworth said that Colin Bell kind of mentored him a lot when he was coming through doing his coaching badges. And that's how the connection was made. I think it's back to when
I could be assistant manager.
Back to when Colin Bell would have been in Germany.
That's what I'm telling you.
So a few years back.
Gareth Southgate may have looked at you and thought, There's a guy I could bring with me.
Still time, Shane. Still time.
Yeah, give him a call, give him a text there.
Now, one of the names off the ball has been mentioned in connection with the job is Dave Connell, who's apparently a front runner for the position. He guided the under-19s and under-17s women's teams to successive European Championships and also runs the Emerging Talent Programme and has worked with a number of the players who are apparently keen to work with him again.
Yeah, so Dave Connell, very much part of the FAI, the women's structure within the FAI. Understandable, I think, in the current setup that straight away people would link him with the role. That's not to say he doesn't deserve to be linked with the role, but
yeah, he's definitely involved a long time anyway. Again, he wouldn't be one of the FAI heads that I know better now, to be honest with you, but yeah, it would seem like a natural enough sort of a appointment. Now, you would question again, is there any female candidates out there that possibly should be strongly considered before they go ahead with an appointment? The one I would know best would be Eileen Gleeson. Would you know Eileen at all? Eileen would have an extremely strong pedigree, and obviously
Ruth Fahy was in here a couple of weeks ago raving about her.
Yeah, she's excellent. She's so tuned in, really fantastic. And then obviously you have Lisa's appointment at Chelsea.
Lisa Fallon has obviously just gone to Chelsea, so
if the timing had been slightly different, you might have argued that she would have been very much a front runner. But yeah,
maybe there's a role for those characters within this new setup as well. Yeah. Anyways, Dave Connell, very much what we understand, the favourite to succeed Colin Bell. What else is going on?
Well, the semi-final lineup of the Women's World Cup will be completed later today. Action is into the second half between Italy and the Netherlands, and at the moment that is still scoreless. 52 minutes on the clock there at the moment in Valenciennes. Then at 5:30 this evening, it's two-time champions Germany up against Sweden. The winner of those two games will go up against each other in the semi-finals, while the other semi-final has been confirmed, USA up against England after the USA's 2-1 win against the hosts last night.
This USA-England semi-final is going to be a cracker. The hype already on the BBC is absolute. I really like this England team. There's a lot to like about them, but already I'm going, oh, could you deal with them winning it?
The USA, though, the USA women's team, they're brilliant bad guys. They seem to they actually do seem to love the role of everyone wanting them to lose.
Whereas Phil Neville's gone down the route of
everyone wants
we're the nice guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shane's not having it.
No.
Can you shout against two teams in one game?
Wow. I'm surprised by that.
Elsewhere today, Manchester United have confirmed the signing of England under-21 right-back Aaron Wan-Bissaka from Crystal Palace in a £50 million deal. The 21-year-old who made his first-team debut for Palace last year has agreed a 5-year contract. United paying $45 million up front and a potential $5 million in add-ons. He's their second summer recruit after Daniel James joined from Swansea. Also, Scottish Premiership champions Celtic have signed Irish Republic of Ireland qualified midfielder Luca Connell from Bolton Wanderers.
I don't know how to describe him.
I was going to say Republic of Ireland international. Then remembered he obviously didn't get a game there. Yeah. So Republic of Ireland qualified. I just threw it instead.
Well, technically, I think that's correct. Yes.
Hopeful Irish international Luca Connell.
So this has gone through because it appeared he'd been up in Glasgow over the last few days, and then Bolton weren't willing to release him from his contract. Yeah. But obviously they've managed to force it
Celtic
through.
confirmed it this afternoon. Reportedly £250,000 is what Celtic will have to part away with for him.
Yeah, looks like a good move for a young Irish player going to Celtic, a team who obviously will dominate possession in games, who should look after a technically gifted player.
Yeah, you would imagine going up there that he's going to have a lot of the ball playing in a team that are going to dominate most of the games. And the feedback and the stories coming out of Bolton is that this guy is somebody to look out for with great potential. And listen, if it's somebody that we can create a path for in our international side, all well and good, because you would imagine that he's going to play at Celtic and he's going to get opportunities to play in front of big crowds and big stadiums and big, hopefully, European games.
I see today as well, Callum Robinson strongly linked with a move to Norwich. $6 million bid in from Norwich for Callum Robinson, which would obviously be another positive, another Irish player playing in the Premier League next season.
That would be great to see, because I think I won't say he's the first name on the team sheet for us at the moment, but I think he's been really, really impressive in any of the appearances that he's had for us so far. And I would say he is, top one of the first 3-4 names that you would have on the team sheet at the moment. And that, a move like that could only drive him on even further. He's the sort of fella, he seems to get messed around a little bit positional wise. And I think that's probably a big thing for him next season, regardless of which of the two clubs he's at, is can he nail a position? Sometimes he's wide, sometimes he's in. Yeah. Can he nail a position week in, week out, that then has the knock-on effect of him having a nailed-on position for us, rather than sometimes being slightly square pegging around the hole.
And if he does move on, you're hopefully looking at then Sean Maguire being a more regular, and even potential for Graham Burke to come back into the team at Preston, because I know he went out to Gillingham last year.
They're always difficult moves, actually, the Callum Robinson move, if he does go to Norwich, because attacking players, it's all about confidence. You're going to a Norwich team, how are they going to compete in the Premier League? Are they going to create chances? Obviously they were brilliant in the Championship, but suddenly if you're in a team where, probably best case scenario, you get double figures next season, that's tough on your confidence if it doesn't work out straight away. But you got to back yourself.
Yeah, I suppose to a certain extent it's probably the opposite to what you're saying with Luca Connell's move to Celtic, whereas Luca Connell's going to be in a possession-based side, and it's good that he's getting used to it. You could kind of make the argument with the likes of Callum Robinson, that if he ends up in Norwich in a backs against the wall kind of a scenario and up against it every week, is that actually good preparation for how we tend to find ourselves in a lot of our games at the moment, maybe,
That's a good point.
What do you make of Wan-Bissaka? Are you a fan?
Yeah. I think he saw him a couple of times for Palace this season. Very much a modern full-back.
He looks super.
Loves to absolutely bomb forward. Probably final delivery needs a bit of improvement, or maybe he's playing at Crystal Palace and they actually just don't have the attacking players that suit him, because they never played generally with a out-and-out striker. So when you get into those positions, you're generally pulling it back to Zaha or Townsend. 50 million quid is sort of the going rate for a player who isn't an England international yet, but probably will be over.
And because it's United, I think you just have to accept the price is the price.
It's a premium.
Everyone knows they're out trying to sign loads of young players.
He'll go straight in as the starter in that position, will
he? Like I was making the case, and listen, was never going to happen. They've signed 2 young players so far. They need to sign some character in that team. Like I would say, the Seamus Coleman thing is gone. But those type of personalities who'll take no shit, who'll go into the dressing room with the right attitude, who'll bring them on, bring the younger players on a level. Now they still need to probably sign a centre half, a couple of midfielders. If Lukaku goes, another attacking player. Maybe they are those players. But, it's a complete overhaul. It's 5-6 players coming in. trusting that Wan-Bissaka, if they start slowly, is there a change of manager in 6 months' time?
Yeah, you always kind of feel a little bit with the fullback when a team signs a fullback. It's like putting the icing on the cake, but the cake isn't there.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's a brilliant attacking fullback, or he's the fullback now in a terrible United defence who's constantly caught out of position because what's he doing up on the other side of the pitch, which is his job. You would imagine why they're signing him.
He's very good though. I remember watching his debut on the first weekend of the Premier League last year, watching Match of the Day on the Saturday night, and the highlights come on of the Palace game, and you were like, where is he after coming out of? Because straight away he looked absolutely outstanding. So
statistics in 1v1s was scary last year, and I was a big fan of him all through the Premier League, and then I saw him play for the England 21s this summer, and I thought, oh,
a bit ropey already, wasn't he?
He was a bit ropey, particularly in the first game against France, and looked a real threat going forward, but just in a few 1v1 situations I thought, oof.
And they were questioning maybe that he had been affected while at the under-21s by the speculation of Manchester United's interest. Like, would that make you worry about his mentality, that he's that easily distracted, or is that just natural for a 21-year-old?
Well, it's natural. How many big moves do you have like that in your career? Like, this is career defining, or it's completely life changing.
You're a superstar now.
His wages.
12 months ago you're breaking into the Crystal Palace team.
Yeah,
it's also quite possibly putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 5. He's had a bad game at a time that there's a bit of talk about it. We're all going to jump to
it. It was pretty clear Eddie Boothroyd was keen to put the blame on many different people for England's failures at the under-21s. Gaelic Games?
Yeah, Gaelic Games. 4 more teams will move within one step at the Super 8s in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship this evening. First up, Kildare host Tyrone at St Conleth's Park at Newbridge at 5 o'clock. At 6, Westmeath host Clare in Mullingar. At 7 then it's an All-Midlands clash, and a huge opportunity for both Laois and Offaly to get within touching distance of the Super 8s. They meet in Port Laois, and at the same time the big game of the evening comes at McHale Park. Mayo up against Ulster opposition for the second week running, this time at home though against Armagh. Also today in the Liberty Insurance Senior Camogie Championship, 2 5pm throw-ins. First of those in Croke in Limerick as Limerick take on Wexford, while also in Group 1 it's Kilkenny against Offaly. That's the second part of a double header at Nolan Park, because in Group 2 at the moment it's currently Tipperary 1-2, Waterford 2 points. And also as well, Michaela Walsh has secured a silver medal after a split decision defeat in the featherweight final at the European Games in Minsk. She lost out to Sanamira Petrova on a split decision, 4 of the 5 judges giving the decision to the Bulgarian third seed. And finally as well, action is underway at the Curragh, where an 8-race card is taking place throughout the afternoon. And of course the Dubai duty-free Irish Derby is the feature, where the Aidan O'Brien trained Anthony Van Dyke is set to go off favourite at around 5:20.
All right, cheers for that, Neil. So Dundalk have gone 8 points clear at the top of the SSE Electricity Premier Division. They beat Shamrock Rovers 1-0 last night. Sean Gannon with the only goal on 73 minutes, very much against the run of play at Tallaght Stadium. Let's hear from the Dundalk manager, Vinnie Perth. Oh, we don't have Vinnie Perth, unfortunately, at the moment. We'll get to him very shortly, and we'll also hear from Stephen Bradley and a couple of the Dundalk players. But you were both there watching last night. Was this a performance of champions? They weren't quite at it for large parts, but still got the job done, or were they just quite fortunate?
It's the result of champions, yeah. I wouldn't say definitely not the performance of champions, but it was the result of champions to be, I won't say massively below par, but like if you look at, certainly if you take Michael Duffy, who I would still argue is the best player in the league, and Pat Hoban, by their standards, they had an off night. And for Rovers to come up against a side where the two of them have an off night on the one night like that, you'd really, really be hoping to capitalise, and to come away with nothing must be gut-wrenching for them, really, mustn't it?
Absolutely, and I was just making the point last night that the results against the Dundalks and Bows, I think they've played 6 games now and they've only picked up 1 point. The confidence or the impact that must have on the confidence of the squad must be huge. And like you were saying there, Shane, Pat Hoban, the ball was bouncing off him. I don't remember Michael Duffy getting too many touches in the first half, and you're just thinking, while you're on top, you have to go and score. They had to create a few more chances, and they had to put the nail in the coffin and be more ruthless. And
so there was the spell around when Jack Byrne hit the crossbar with that long range shot. There was a 10-minute spell there where Rovers were brilliant and they really had Dundalk on the back foot. Why weren't they able to take advantage and get that goal?
They're really missing a centre forward for me, and I actually feel as if they're probably missing a bit of pace down the flanks as well. And I think Neil Ferrugia coming in could maybe add a new dimension. But you saw when Dan Carr actually got down the side and he pulled the ball across for Ronald Flynn, Dane Massey blocked it from blocked it off the line. That doesn't happen too often when Shamrock Rovers are playing. I just feel every time they're playing, for them to score, everything has to be so precise. It nearly has to be inch perfect with the build-up play, the final ball and the finish. Everything has to be so precise. And I don't feel as if they create enough chances, particularly in those big games.
Yeah, it is, to a certain extent, it is one of those, the result dictates the narrative ones, in that, particularly if you look at the wide players. So obviously they had wide players who were coming inside all day long and wandering into those central areas. And to be honest with you, at half time, my take on it was Rovers are absolutely bossing this game because those wide players are going inside, creating an overload, and they're playing some fantastic football, and they look like they were going to go and win the game. They then don't win the game, and now you're saying the reason they don't win the game is because the wide players keep coming inside and they have no natural weight and no natural speed, and you're correct then with that answer too. The common denominator either way though is the centre forward situation. But they know that. Like, you could argue they should have known it at the start.
This is what I was going to say. So obviously Stephen Bradley started the season probably under a little bit of pressure to deliver, and certainly have a big improvement in terms of style of football and a bit more probably solidity as well, and they've got all that. But the one question that was there when all the previews were, they don't have a striker. They don't have somebody who's going to score the goal, so we're taking a chance on a couple of people that it might just happen, but they didn't go and sign a proven goal scorer. Does that not suggest a major problem somewhere, that if everybody knew it and it's proven to be the case, someone's got something badly wrong?
Okay, let me throw it straight back to you. Who could they have signed? That's the question here.
It's the hardest position to find, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's you look at the league at the moment, and in my opinion, I think probably the two best centre forwards in the league are at the one club, and one of them's on the bench every week in the Dundalk pair. Outside of that, how many players are hitting double figures, or probably midfielders at the moment? Some of them are more threatening than a lot of the centre forwards.
And that's
in the
what
league.
Rovers have relied on. They've relied on the likes of Aaron McAneff, who's out injured, and they've relied on Jack Byrne, and there's obviously rumours with them signing Graham Cummins. That's probably the one outside of Georgie Kelly and Pat Hooban that you would look at maybe saying, Could he
that's an amazing one, because he's not even regularly starting for Cork at the moment, really. So he's not. Obviously the chase is on, I think, for David McMillan, but a lot of the sounds coming from there seem to be that he doesn't really have much interest in coming back at the moment either.
No, I don't think Dave will. I think Dave will stick it out in Scotland and try forge 2 or 3 years between Scotland and UK, and then potentially come back. That's what it sounds like to me anyway.
There's still 14 games left, so there is an opportunity. We know that people have sat in the studio and thought that this league title race was already done. In fact, it's not just us who noticed. The Dundalk supporters also noticed, judging by their banner at the stadium last night, which said, and you thought it was all over. Was that directed at the Shamrock Rovers supporters, or was that directly at the press box where Johnny Ward was sitting?
Very surprised the JW initials aren't on the banner somewhere, to be honest with you, so I am. By the way,
did Johnny film that?
No, I don't think so. He had his head down pretending it didn't happen.
It just happens to be the stage where the two sides are walking out there on the shot that we're looking at. The ball boys that were coming out with the Shamrock Rovers side, Ronan Finn was absolutely top class with the young lad.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, the young lad was struggling a little bit coming out along. I just thought he was brilliant with him. Really good with him last night.
So looking at the game then, and we'll hear from the two managers a little bit later in the hour. Like, one of the more interesting battles was obviously Chris Shields and Jack Byrne. I don't know if anyone of them won that battle in the end, because when Rovers were at their best, Byrne took hold of the game, and actually it was one of the first times all season I've seen him, when he's lost control of the game, he's actually managed to win it back again, that he didn't sort of drop his shoulders, didn't slump a little bit. He actually stayed at it right till the very end, and was technically again, like the ball with the outside of the boot, maybe he overuses it at times and there's a simpler ball on, but time and time again, must be a dozen times, crossfield balls. It was brilliant. Like, was that the key battle in this game, or did they actually just sort of cancel each other out? His ability to
change direction is ridiculous as well, isn't it? He goes scuttling 5 yards in one direction, then spins and goes in the other direction. I think Shieldsy did a good job on him, even though he had a bit of success. I think the more the game went on, the deeper he started to drop, which is probably a sign that maybe Shieldsy was getting on top at that stage. But that said, almost all the good play that Rovers had, Jack was absolutely central in it, wasn't he? So, like you say, I don't know who won that battle, really.
They're almost too reliant on him at times, Shamrock Rovers. And all the good play, like you mentioned, whether it was the strike, whether it was the ball down the side for Dan Carr. I remember another one, even for Aaron Green's volley from 10 yards out, it was Jack Byrne who went with the ball over top, and I just feel sometimes he almost comes towards the back four because he feels as if there's nobody who can get it into his feet in those pockets. The position and the nature of Jack's play is that sometimes he is going to be sloppy because he's going to try things and he's going to try create, and it's not always going to come off, and people say, oh, he's a bit loose, but he's just trying to create. I thought he was excellent, and like Shane said there, his centre of gravity is brilliant, his change of direction, he's not exactly explosive over 5 yards, but because his close control is so good and because he's able to link off players, I thought he was excellent, and I probably thought he got the better of Chris Shields. I thought Chris Shields was really sloppy in the first half, particularly on the ball, and I just think that when Jack gets into his groove and when he really starts to create, that's when Rovers really start to tick.
Sean Gannon obviously scored the winner. Is he one of the more unheralded players in this Dundalk team, considering he's been there consistently? He's been the best right back in the league for 5-6 years at this stage. He took the goal brilliantly.
Yeah, look, if he's been unheralded up to this season, I don't think he'd be unheralded much longer, really, to be honest with you. Like, if you were handing out Player of the Year awards at the moment, he'd certainly be in the top three, wouldn't he? He's been, but then he's kind of that good every year for the last good few years. But there's just so many stars in that Dundalk side that maybe he has to fight for the limelight. But he did brilliantly last night. He really did. Now, that said, Jack or McGrath's timing and weight of the pass was brilliant to slip him in. But it's the timing of the run. I was only watching your highlights back, say, after the game, that you saw. I'm not quite sure who was out wide with Sean when Sean took off on the run.
Trevor Clark.
Was it? He just gets that slight head start on Trevor, and Trevor Clark is lightning. Yeah. But unfortunately, by the time Trevor sees him just drifting off the back of his shoulder, it's too late, and he can't go with him by that stage. And that's what Sean Gannon is just fantastic at doing. It must be a nightmare to be a left winger up against him, because you're going to get so little success in 1v1s, and you're going to be backtracking all day as well, aren't you?
With Trevor Clark, his natural instinct is to go attack, and it was when the ball was cleared, it was coming towards the second ball, and Trevor's actually burst out of his defensive position, and Sean Gannon's taken advantage of that. But it's a funny one for me, because I would have played with Sean. He was my age group. He was a bit part centre forward at Home Farm when I was playing schoolboy football, and just the career that guy has gone on to have playing at right foot is unbelievable. To do it and to sustain it for 6, 7, 8, 9 years at this rate is incredible. And I thought, even
where did that come from? Is that a Stephen Kenny creation?
Potentially. He fits nicely into that system. He's got a great engine, but that's also not to take away from the fact that in his 1v1s last night, defensively, he was incredible. Blocking crosses, getting his body in the right position, and just being a constant threat. And it felt in the first half, when Dundalk got any joy, it was down that side. It was the understanding between Mountney and Gannon just goes and goes and goes and goes. And if you switch off, like they did for that for the goal, he was there to capitalise, and probably showed his striking instincts from his under 13 days at Home Farm when he's
part centre forward.
I tell you what, he's certainly the kind of guy that you want talking to your late developers, isn't he? If that's the case, if he was so late breaking on the scene. But he strikes me as well as kind of very low maintenance. I'd say, I'd say he's
job done.
Good character around the dressing room. 8 out
of 10 every week.
I'd say you rarely need to be having a word in his ear or trying to keep him right or anything like that. He just seems to be a kind of a self-motive.
Did he sign a new long-term contract recently? Did he sign a new 3-year deal?
He did. Which is
pretty much unprecedented in the League of Ireland.
And that's what you want. You want to see that sort of solidarity among squads, and you want to see our best players staying, particularly at the better clubs. And we want to see Dundalk progress, and we want to see them building around the likes of Sean Gannon and Chris Shields and Andy Boyle coming in, and hopefully they can push now within Europe.
Now, I do think it's important again to highlight that there were an awful lot of positives for Rovers last night. There really were. Like, for 45 minutes and even for periods of the second half, they were the better side against a team that we regard as the best team in the country for the last 5 years. So, I mean, there really were a lot of positives. The problem, I could see Rovers going on an unbelievable run from now to the end of the season. The problem, obviously, is having to be reliant on the others to drop the points.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll talk a bit more about all the good stuff that Shamrock Rovers did last night, and I want to talk about the refereeing in the game as well, and we'll hear from the two managers, but we'll take a quick break.
Off the ball on News Talk. Screen Time with John Farty.
This week on Screen Time, I talked to the UK's best-known film critic, Mark Kermode, about being famous, but also completely irrelevant.
In 2010, I was the most trusted film critic in the UK. Okay?
Wow.
And the second statistic is that the percentage of people that trusted me was less than 3.
Plus, I look at the best identity swap movies, and Mrs. Brown's best mate, Eilish O'Carroll, picks her favourite movie.
Screen Time with John Fardy.
Brought to you by Stella Cinemas.
Download the podcast now or tune in this evening at 6.
On News Talk.
Productive afternoons with Harvey Norman. Need more you time? Ask about our range of large capacity washing machines with quick wash functions in Harvey Norman today. Now, where's the remote?
Go, Harvey, go!
Oh, I'm wrecked after those stairs. What if I had a cheerleading squad to help me get fit?
Come on!
That's a bit much, but a little encouragement would be great.
Download My Life, the app that gives you a single health score. Plus, Irish Life customers can earn points, get rewarded, and now get €50 off at Fitbit Charge 3. We know Irish Life. We are Irish Life. My Life is provided by Irish Life Financial Services. Fitbit offer ends 31st July 2019. T's and C's apply. See irishlife.ie/mylife.
Visit the home of Waterford Crystal for guided factory tours in Ireland's oldest city. World renowned for quality and beauty, Waterford Crystal is located in the heart of Ireland's oldest city. Enjoy an engaging factory tour of each stage of production. Witness experienced craftsmen transform molten crystal into exquisite pieces before your eyes. With tours 7 days a week, free entry for children with paying adults, the Waterford Crystal Factory Tour is an unforgettable experience combining ancient techniques with exceptional skill for timeless results. Book your tour online at waterfordvisitorcentre.com.
Join the conversation at Galway International Arts Festival's popular talk series, First Thought Talks. Hear from over 50 speakers, including Mary Robinson, Joe Brawley, Lydia Foy, Una Mullally, Marion McKeown, Fintan O'Toole, Kate Mulgrew and Eamon Ryan, as they discuss some of our big challenges and burning issues. First Thought Talks. Be part of it. Galway International Arts Festival, July 15 to 28. See giaf.ie for details. Supported by the Arts Council, Fáilte Ireland, Heineken and NUI Galway.
Proudly supported by News Talk.
This is Bobby Kerr. It's that time of year again, and Focus Ireland is calling on the business community to sleep out and shine a light on homelessness. I'm calling on businesses and business leaders to make a real difference and help Focus Ireland raise vital funds to reach families who need their support more than ever before. Will you sleep out for one night on Friday the 18th of October? Register today at focusIreland.ie/Shine a Light. Shine a Light is proudly sponsored by Borgash Energy.
There are a lot of solicitors out there offering legal services, and it's hard to know who to choose. The National Solicitors Alliance has been established to make it easy to find a trusted legal service.
The Alliance includes 50 approved firms across the country, working locally and sharing expertise nationally. Find your nearest National Solicitors Alliance member at nsalliance.ie.
With zero deposit and from €73 a week, the all-new, shockingly affordable Dacia Duster is leaving the competition for dust. €73 per week. That is shockingly affordable. That's less than a night out in Coppers, or 12 spice bags, or last year's Valentine's present, or that late-night TV subscription that I never signed up for, by the way. Anywho, book a 24-hour test drive. Visit your local Dacia dealer today. Finance is met under a hire purchase agreement. Terms and conditions apply. Deposit required subject to lending criteria. See dacia.ie.
Refresh your summer with Nespresso at Harvey Norman. Get the Nespresso Cities coffee machine by Krups with its stylish mix of Nespresso technology and retro urban design for just €109, saving you €50. And with the purchase of 150 capsules direct from Nespresso, receive a free Ericino milk frother and set of 2 cappuccino cups worth a total of €91. Hurry while stocks last. Visit Harvey Norman in store or online.
Go, Harvey, go!
Summer is finally here with temperatures really heating up, but it may not last long. Are you ready to make the most of it? Get barbecue ready at Super Value with 3 for €10 on barbecue meats. Or pick up delicious salads, cold drinks and much more. So to make the most of the sunshine, it's got to be Super Value.
The Cadbury Flake McFlurry is here at McDonald's. So break out your short shorts because summer has officially begun. Soft dairy ice cream swirled with Cadbury Flake chocolate pieces and delicious chocolatey or raspberry sauce. Available until the 6th of August.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
All right, you're welcome back. We're talking about the League of Ireland. Shane Keegan and Paul Corry are alongside me in studio, focusing mainly on Dundalk's 1-0 win over Shamrock Rovers in Tala last night, which puts Dundalk 8 points clear of Rovers at the top of the league. We haven't mentioned the main talking point of the game, which was that Rovers were robbed because Gary Rogers Sibley had to be sent off after an hour for hacking down, who was it?
Trevor Clark.
Trevor Clark. Hacking down Trevor Clark when he was clear through on goal and the referee bottled it and gave a yellow card.
No, I disagree completely.
How?
Because the player was going away from play. The ball was definitely going away from play. He wasn't going to get there. If Gary Rogers hadn't brought him down, that was not going to result in a definite goal.
But the reason that the ball was going away from him and the reason he took a heavy touch was because he was about to be clattered by Gary Rogers.
That's Trevor's fault. He needs to try and take a touch in a manner that still ends up in being a goal scoring opportunity.
But if that tackle takes place anywhere in the pitch, it's at the very least a yellow card. Never mind when you're the goalkeeper, you're the last man, 25 yards away from your own goal.
No, I think by the letter of the law, if it's following the rules, players going away from play, I think it's not a definite goal scoring opportunity. I think it's the right decision. Definitely.
It's a funny one, but then do you think Trevor takes such a heavy touch if Gary Rogers isn't coming to absolutely chop him in two?
No, but he's taking.
There you go.
He's
but
taking
then,
the touch
but then is it a goal
before he's
scoring?
clattered.
But then is it a goal scoring opportunity if Gary Rogers doesn't come out? And is he the last man? You see, I can see the arguments for both. I actually agree that I think it's a yellow card based on the touch. But does Trevor take that touch if Gary Rogers doesn't come out? So if Gary Rogers doesn't take him down, Trevor's through one-on-one. And then he's the last man.
And it's a goal scoring opportunity.
So does it all depend on the touch?
I think it does all depend
I think
on
it
the
does.
touch. I think, to be honest with you, and this might seem, how can he have taught this cleverly and taught this cutely in such a short space of time? I think Gary Rogers has played an absolute blinder there. I think Gary Rogers sees exactly what's happening in front of him and thinks the only positive outcome here is that I come out and look like I'm going to kick him so hard that he takes a heavy touch. Then the referee deems that it wasn't a goal scoring opportunity, and I probably get away with a yellow then instead of a red.
That's a lot of thought to go through in 3 seconds.
It's also a lot of risk.
But you're talking about a keeper who's been around so long that I think he can compute it that quick. I really do.
Do you think if Alan Manis makes that tackle, he gets a yellow card?
This is not a... I was shouting for Dundalk, so I'm happy he didn't get a yellow card.
No, what I mean. I'm not saying that at all. What I mean by that is that Gary Rogers,
who's taking the touch,
most, nice smiley head in them. Catch it off, Gary Rogers. Never mean to do anything like that.
Look, it probably hasn't done him any harm, I suppose, that he's an affable sort of a fella, I suppose, all right, is Gary. But
the refereeing last night, I did think that he was a bit fussy, and like there was some crunching tackles early on. Trevor Clark got a very yellow card for the sort of tackle in a game like this. I think you always want your full-back to make. Now, it was right in front of the two...
Directly in front of where I was sitting.
In front of the two benches, which maybe means everybody's right up in the referee's face. And
it was brilliant for the game. It was
and he's trying to get in early, but it did sort of set the tone for a game that had a real edge to it.
And that I think that's such a positive thing. I really, really do think it's such a positive thing that you have. Obviously, we had it with John and Stephen for a long time, and now we've got it between the two sides at the moment again. I think. I mean, the tackle itself, it was a brilliant tackle. Like how that resulted in a yellow card.
Have you seen it back?
No, go on.
Okay, it's not because I thought the exact same thing when it happened. I thought that's a great tackle, setting the tempo first 5 minutes. But if you actually look at it, he's led with the studs and it's quite high up on Mountney's leg, and it was a tad dangerous, and I can see why the yellow was given. But just going back to your point, there was needle between the two sides even when I was at Shamrock Rovers. That's 2 years ago now. Even between the management and the staff and the players, and there is that bit of bite between the two, and it's actually really healthy for the league now that the two of them are up the top of the league, and Rovers are pushing Dundalk for titles, whereas when I was there it was there was still 20-25 points between the sides. But I remember Trevor clattering into John Mountney 2 years ago, and even between the two of them there's a bit of a rivalry.
I think Trevor has a bit of bite no matter who he comes up against, I think, doesn't he?
I think John Mountney was enjoying it as well, though. He doesn't shy away at the physical
Definitely
challenge.
Not shy at the physical side of things. Again, having not seen any replays, had Dundalk a decent shout for a penalty, the handball?
Yeah. Now it would have been somewhat harsh, but there was actually a bit of distance between Gannon and Kavanagh when it happened, and Kavanagh's arm wasn't exactly down by his side, it was out a bit and it was inside the box, so probably got away with one there.
Yeah, my instinct at the time was it's one of those ones that that shouldn't be a penalty, but the way they're giving the penalties at the moment in the games that we're watching on TV, well then you think, well actually it probably is a penalty.
Yeah, I'd hate to see it given, but like you said, there are penalties given for those type of decisions.
Let's hear from the two managers then. We'll hear from Vinny Perth first, the Dundalk manager.
Vinny, you look like you enjoyed that one in the end.
Yeah, I probably over-celebrated, but there was a lot of variables on the sideline from people behind the dugout and stuff like that. So I'm from this part of the town. I live literally. I grew up maybe 2 miles from here. So when you hear that stuff, no matter who you're involved with, it was disappointing. But so I probably over-celebrated. But look, so be it. Our fans were outstanding tonight, and I felt they needed to see me recognise what effort they made as well. So it was an outstanding night for us.
Yeah, it was a really dramatic win in the end. Maybe deserved or undeserved in the way.
Yeah, listen, we've played in our first game of the season, had 29 shots on goal, and had a man taken down for penalty and broke his leg. We've had other nights where we've dominated up in Finn Harps and struggled, so that's part of the way it goes. Yes, we weren't at our best tonight, but in one sense we've seen that coming. Rovers are very strong centrally in midfield, and we were just short in there because losing Jordan this week is effective as Sean's not ready yet, but he's coming back. Jamie McGrath's coming back, and Robbie Benson. They've only trained 3 or 4 days before tonight, so once we fixed stuff at half time, I thought we were much better second half, and we did get our wide players and our fullbacks on it and improve from there.
Does that show the variety within the side, that you can actually defend well, like when your backs are up against the wall, because it was mostly Shamrock Rovers in the first half anyway? Yeah,
I know Jack Byrne hit the crossbar. Maybe, I don't know whether he got in any other stage other than a few set pieces. We did expect at times they might have a lot of the ball in front of us. I thought we dealt with it well. But look, they're a good side. You come away from home to a place like this, they're well drilled. They've a great sort of setup. They're very organised, and their coaching staff deserve huge credit for what how they've kicked them on this year. And we had to dig in, and we did, thankfully.
It was a really feisty encounter. Do you think Gary Rogers might have been lucky enough to stay in the pitch, or do you think it was a deserved yellow card?
Look, I'm going to say, obviously at the time I thought there was 3 or 4 people sort of goal side of the ball when it happened. He kicked it away from goal. They will say it's a straight red. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Would have changed the game? I don't know. We may have set in and just defended. But we should have got a penalty here in the 90th minute in the 3rd game of the season, and we didn't. And it put us under massive pressure then, because we'd drawn our first 2 games. And it was a blatant penalty on Sean Gannon back then. And so I suppose we feel hard done by back then. We had a penalty showed in the first half where the linesman just said it hit his hand, and then he couldn't really expand on both at half time. So look, I don't know until I see it back whether we were lucky or not, but at the same time I thought the players defended really strongly tonight.
And that obviously puts you 8 points clear at top of the table. Does that mean anything at this stage of the season?
No, I'm afraid it's a boring answer. It doesn't, because we've been the other side of it. We've got Europe, Rovers of Europe as well. Rovers could end up with 6 games in Europe. Will they have games called off? We could end up with 4, 6, 8. Will we have games called off? Will allow the team get back in? All games in hand are no use to you, which we've already seen ourselves. So we don't look at it that way. We just have to focus really on Monday. Unfortunately, that's the boring answer.
Does that game give you confidence going into the European games now, that you might actually, in some of those games, you might have to defend like that? That you can show that you can play with backs against the wall, but then you can break on the counter attack and get those goals when needed?
Yeah, it definitely does. I think we worked really hard over the last 2 weeks, and it was a concern whether we'd overcooked them a little bit, but I think it'll stand to us. We were short in midfield tonight in terms of fitness levels, but like the way we defended tonight, we were missing Dean Jarvis and Dan Cleary out of side tonight, out of squad. So we're very happy with who played, how they performed from a defensive point of view, and it gives us great hope going forward.
Vinnie Pert's never going to come out with 14 games to go and say, yeah, it's done and dusted. But he does make a very valid point that because of the European games, that we don't know how it'll work out for Dundalk and Shamrock Rovers, that you could end up with one team having quite a few games in hand. And if Dundalk go on a European run and Shamrock Rovers don't, you suddenly find your lead being cut down very quickly.
Yeah. Look, he probably, by his own admission, he probably celebrated last night.
Well, he was Was he pointing at you? Who was he? I thought actually initially he was celebrating with his own directors or something. How naive of me. When he's admitting it himself, he was clearly having a pop at the Rovers supporters.
Yeah, look, he enjoyed it. He absolutely enjoyed it. And look, he knows, as you say, they're not going to say that it's done and dusted. But yet, that exuberance in a celebration gives away the fact that inside you're thinking, okay, we've taken a massive step. I remember the year we won the first division with Wexford. Now we were a bit closer to the end line, but like 6 games out, we won a game up in UCD, and like I always try and keep my emotions in check, but I knew when we won that game that night it was highly unlikely that we could throw it away from there. Yeah, you're trying to say, all right, it's not done and dusted, and you're trying to keep it checking yourself, but you are punching the air. And now I was punching the air in the direction of about 15 fans. He's punching the air in the direction of however.
You were giving it to the UCD faithful, were you?
I know, hold on. Steady on, Nathan.
They're giving you polite applause back.
But like when he talks about European games, the one thing, like the strength of their squad now is just incredible, isn't it? I mean, I was looking at the sub bench last night before the game kicked off, and I was saying, if they go behind here and they're chasing the game, out of Daniel Kelly, Georgie Kelly, Robbie Benson and Jamie McGrath, which one of those is he not going to throw on? Like, which one does he feel is least impactful? And you also look at the performances of 2 centre halves and you're thinking, are one of the 2 you getting dropped for Andy Boyle? Like,
yeah, and Dan Cleary was suspended last night as well. Dean Jarvis didn't play. He was suspended as well. So they've almost got a situation where they've got 2 players for every position. And whoever doesn't start, that other player would probably walk into every other squad within the league.
The other thing to factor in as well is that both these sides are heavily involved in the transfer market, and Shamrock Rovers have signed Gary O'Neill, Neil Ferrugia, Graham Cummins is expected to come in as well. Dundalk have brought back Andy Boyle. Sounds what you're saying, the Dave McMillan deal is probably unlikely to happen, but may again try and strengthen before that European campaign. Like, they could have very different teams come sort of 6-7 weeks time.
I don't think we'll see too many more players being signed for either side. That's what my own impression is. I think what we said with Shamrock Rovers, that they would definitely try bringing a centre forward. Who that is, we don't know, but the 2 players that they've brought in, Neil has serious potential. You know, I've seen a bit of him this year, but we're still only talking about potential. He's not racked up 50, 60, 70 Premier Division games. He's only played the guts of 15, 20. But will bring something different to the current squad at Shamrock Rovers. He's very dynamic, he's very quick, and he will get in behind players, and he might stretch opposition and then allow the likes of Jack Byrne to get into little pockets of space. It'll be interesting. You know, I can't imagine Dundalk will sign too many more. I think they'll try consolidate. I think they'll try build on what they have and use that squad for both the European and the league campaign.
Yeah, it's great that we've got to a stage as well where we're at this point of the year and we're not talking about losing the best players from the league as well, isn't it? I think you look at the Rovers side, I'm not 100% sure what the situation is around Lee Grace in terms of the length he has left in his contract. There's been a little bit of talk there, but by and large, across both sides, you know, they're pretty much all, you know, nailed down. It's very hard to see them losing anybody significant. The big difference probably with the 2 boys that Rovers have signed is, as you say, one in Ferrugia is so different to anything that they have, where the other is so similar to what they have in Gary O'Neill. Like, Gary O'Neill is absolutely fantastic player, so he is, in terms of First Division, he's head and shoulders, in my opinion, head and shoulders above anything else in the First Division. Was always going to get a really, really big move. But he's probably gone to one of only 2 sides in the country where he's not an automatic starter. Look, the strength and depth they have in that area, again, you saw it last night, you were just saying off air, like Aaron McAniff wasn't even available last night, and they were still had an abundance of centre midfield options. But I suppose the way Gary will be looking at it is, with so many games coming, that he's going to get plenty of game time here and there, and he'll fancy himself once he gets an opportunity to pull on a jersey to keep it. Yeah,
from Gary's point of view, he's probably been in a bit of a comfort zone at UCD for the last couple of years. He's been a big fish in a small pond, and from speaking to him, he now has to step outside of that, and he really has to push himself. So it's up to Gary how well he does, and he really has to take a grip on it, and he has to push the likes of Greg Bulger and Ronan Finn out of the side, and if he can do that, well, there's no reason why he can't become one of the top centre midfielders within the league.
Let's very briefly, just before we wrap up, hear from Stephen Bradley, the Shamrock Rovers manager.
Stephen, can you sum up your emotions after that game?
Yeah, we're frustrated, angry. We've lost a game that we fully controlled and should have won quite comfortably with the chances we created, but we haven't, so frustration.
The first half, yes, were really impressive. Just unlucky not to take the lead on a couple of occasions. Jack Byrne smacked the crossbar from about 25 yards out as well.
Yeah, I thought Jack was outstanding all night, and his strike was brilliant. On another night it goes in. Ronan has him cleared off the line. Dan has him back post. I can't fault a lot of the performance. I thought we were really good. We switch off and we get done, but I thought we were excellent.
And a couple of decisions from the referee might have raised a few eyebrows. We'll start with Gary Rogers. Do you think it was a sending off?
It's a sending off. Yeah, it's a sending off. There's no other way of looking at it. If it's Allen, I think he gets sent off. It's a sending off.
What was the biggest problem for you tonight? Was it just the lack of taking your scoring chances when you got them, or was it? Do you blame the decisions, or what went wrong for you tonight?
No, we dominate the game. We need to take our chance. And a big game like that, you might only get one. We got 5 or 6. We need to put one away. They get 1 half chance and they take it.
And that puts Dundalk 8 points ahead now, when it could have been 4, and probably deservedly should have been 4. How does that change the complexion of the league going forward now? Does it change anything?
No, we just have to make up points. There's 30 odd points to play for, and a lot of points to go. We won on the last day of the season here when I was here as a player, and this group has it in them to go and do that. I think tonight shows that.
Going forward, how do you pick the players up? Because they put a lot of energy out there, and they seemed really down after the game. How do you pick them up and get them going for Monday again, and going forward as well for the European games?
Yeah, no, the players are obviously disappointed and hurt. You've lost a big game, and you're going to be down, but I think they understand that you are very good, and on another night they win the game quite comfortably because they dominate the game. They'd be fine for Monday. I have no problems. They're good characters, good people. They'd be fine for Monday.
And you just have a couple of lads coming in now as well, Neil Ferrugia. What are you expecting for them?
And Neil and Gary just need to do what they've done in UCD. That's why we've obviously tried so hard to get them here. They're 2 very good players, totally different obviously. But we believe that they suit what we do and they'll add to what we do. So really looking forward to getting them going.
It's been reported that Graham Cummins could be on the card as well. Is that true, or is there any truth behind that story?
Yeah, we like Graham. We've made an approach, but again, Graham, I know he has other options as well. So we just need to wait and see. But he is a player that we've inquired about.
See, Stephen Bradley agreed with me pretty much word for word. I hadn't heard that interview, but he also felt that if it was Alan Manus, he would have been sent off.
It's amazing how 2 managers can see things so differently, isn't it? Vinny reckoned Rovers' only effort was Jack's shot from distance, and Stephen reckons they've had 6 clear-cut chances.
But at least Vinny had the good grace to go, you know what, obviously I'm going to say he shouldn't have been sent off, but he would have been 100% saying what Stephen Bradley said. You've touched on it, like Rovers have come on a huge amount this season, and there's still a long way to go, and with European games maybe they can go on a run. You're expecting them to go on a run between now and the end of the season. It is just that final piece, that striker, they need to take them to the next level. Is that the way you look at it?
That's the way it looks, and that's the way it has been in weeks gone by. I was out at Derry there before the break when they played and they drew 2-2. They were 2-0 ahead. They had a truckload of chances to put the game to bed, and they ended up drawing the game. So they probably do need somebody who's going to guarantee them 20 goals a season and lessen the pressure on the midfielders to chip in with all the goals. So if they could recruit and bring in a striker, and if they could find somebody who's on the same sort of similar wavelength to the likes of Jack Byrne and Aaron McAneff, well, then that may well push them a little bit close to Dundalk, because I still feel as if there's just that bit of a gap still.
We're pretty much out of time, but there is one text in from Dinny, who's a Cork City fan. Can you ask the lads of their assessment of what's gone wrong at Cork City, and who might the potential candidate for the permanent manager's job be? So Cork were beaten 4-1 at home by Derry City last night. John Cotter's still the interim manager. They are 7th in the table, only 24 points from 22 games.
Yeah, look, I mean, it was well documented at the start of the season that there was a fairly significant budget cut down there, but I still don't think anybody thought it would quite result in the downturn form that they've had. I'm surprised. I was surprised at the time. I wrote an article to that effect that I was surprised that they did get rid of John when they got rid of him, particularly now when you look, and they didn't seem to have a succession plan in place. You know, if you look at the Martin O'Neill situation yesterday, the manager's announced, what is it, 8 minutes after, 18 minutes after. Like, how far are we along since John's gone, and there still seems to be complete.
There's probably a happy medium, but
yeah, true enough. Who's going to be? Look, the sensationalist talk obviously is Roy.
Would that be a good move? Is there a downside? Is Roy too big for the League of Ireland? Like, do we spend every Saturday talking about Roy? Are we going to all Roy's press conferences at Cork, getting his thoughts on the world of football? Like, if Roy's Cork City manager, he's going to be asked about Manchester United every week at his pre-match press conference. Is that a good thing for the League of Ireland?
Look, I can't see it happening full stop anyway, really. I'd be amazed if anything does come of it. But who they do actually go for, I mean, I don't know, you know, you hear a lot of names being bounced around the place. I think people don't realise sometimes in the League of Ireland, Paul, I don't know how you agree, that how much of a role geography plays in things. Like, there's very little point in linking lots of dubs, maybe.
Yeah, there's very few managers that the wages aren't enough for people to
relocate
their entire lives.
Absolutely.
For 2 years.
Particularly if they're trimming budgets, you know. So in that sense, you know, they might have to look quite local. You'd imagine Colin Healy is maybe somewhat in the picture as well.
Yeah. Listen, it's actually sad to see in a way, because they were the ones who've gone and pushed Dundalk so close for the last couple of years, but they very much punched above their weight last year, I thought, and things got a bit stale. Just going back to it, I thought the timing was strange as well, particularly with the break coming up. They could have waited for the break and had a real assessment of where things were. I think the next appointment is going to be crucial, and how they rejig it and bring a new energy to the club is going to be massive. So who you go for, I don't really know.
Put it this way, Nathan. If you were a Cork-like club, obviously you can't be Cork, but if you were a Cork-like club, if you were a team in that position who'd been really, really big for the last few years and had dropped off, and you were looking to make an appointment, the person you go for at the moment is John Caulfield.
Yeah.
To me, he is. Like, he is. You know, if you were
make
kind
the
of
impact.
Oh yeah.
Would you relocate, Shane?
I think I'm a bit off that one at the moment.
All right, lads, we're out of time. Thanks as always for coming to the studio. Is it over?
Nope.
Yeah.
Can you just say it's over?
It's over.
Okay, thanks. We'll turn that into a nice montage as Shamrock Rovers close the gap, and you might get your own poster from the Shamrock Rovers supporters, your former fans. Paul, Corry, Shane Keegan in talking about the League of Ireland and Dundalk's victory last night. You can listen back to that if you missed it. It'll all be up on offtheball.com. Quick break.
Join Off the Ball in Abu Dhabi this November 17th to 23rd for the inaugural Off the Ball Open. With flights from Dublin, 5 nights in a 4-star hotel, golf on 2 championship courses, gala awards dinner, Peter Lorry golf clinic, and a live Off the Ball roadshow. You can also hang out with some special guests, including Kevin Kilban and Kieran Donaghy. The inaugural Off the Ball Open. Book now at CassidyTravel.ie and check out offtheball.com.
Join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter.
Dyson reinvented the vacuum, and now at 67 family-owned Expert electrical stores, they've reinvented buying one. Purchase any Dyson vacuum before July 31st and get a 90-day money-back guarantee. 100% satisfaction. You can't buy smarter. Shop the Dyson range now at your local Expert electrical store or visit expert.ie today.
We all want to build a better health service, and to do that, we need to hear from people using our services day to day. All adults who finish to stay in